and dividing it by 7 and exercising for 3 hours and 25 minutes and hanging out with your spouse for 3 hours and 25 minutes.
Not
And
his spouse.
Just to clarify,
deal.
they are not married.
We're just friends. We're just friends.
This episode features an interview with the Oola guys, the co-authors of the international best-selling book series that started with Oola, Find Balance in an Unbalanced World. The guys are Dr. Dave Braun and Dr. Troy Amdahl, both originally chiropractors. They grew their practices and became renowned experts in work-life balance. And now they travel the world teaching their community of over 1 million followers how to find balance and growth in the 7 F's of Oola: fitness, finance, family, field, faith, friends, and fun. They can currently be found collecting dreams in the form of handwritten goal stickers covering a 1970 VW bus all across America. They are committed to changing the world with a word, one dream at a time, one person at a time, one sticker at a time. If you're interested in taking your message and turning it into an international movement, you will love this interview with the Oola guys. Thank you for joining me for another episode of The Pursuit. I'm Kelsey Humphreys here with the Oola guys, right?
Yeah.
I know you all watching right now can't see it, but this is our first time to kind of have a studio audience. I like it.
Hanging out. You guys have to make a lot of noise when we
Yeah,
say
lots of-
something, anything cool.
Yes. So I love you guys' story because I kind of feel like it's just two chiropractors like happened to start an international movement. This whole Oola movement, which is so cool. So I want to go back, and I've found, like researching you guys, that the story kind of begins in Vegas, where you go and you break down these 3 steps. But what prompted you to go to Vegas and do that? Like, what prompted you guys to start figuring out how to balance your life?
It's such a great place to start the story because what happened, we have to go way back, like way back. We're talking like
Do
1997,
it. Let's go.
way
Let's
back.
go.
And I met this guy, and I was actually, you talked about going into chiropractic. I was ready to do my residency, and I said I want to work with a chiropractor who's going to obviously teach me how to work with patients, teach me about business, but I want to work with someone who's going to teach me about life. And they said, there's this guy 90 miles away, and he has this clinic, and he has this great clinic, but he also has a great family, and he's taking care of himself, and he's taking a lot of time off. I'm like, I want that. I want to work with him. So they said, go down and visit with Dr. Troy. Drove down there, met him. He's like awesome, free help. So he hired me right away because he didn't have to pay me a penny. And I was able to start working with Dr. Troy. And it was interesting because about a year later, I'm finishing up my residency, ready to graduate, and I really didn't see him much, but I felt like I learned a lot about clinic and all that stuff, and I learned how to take the whole summer off and live at the lake cabin like he did. So I'm like, I got this. This is going to be a great, I got this life in front of me. And he showed up at my graduation. My whole family was there as the first one to get a doctorate in my family. And he said, I want to take you to Vegas. And I was thinking, Vegas.
Party.
Celebrate graduation, we're going to Vegas. And we got down to Vegas, and he said, it's not what you think. He said, we're going to work on our goals. And I thought, this is the lamest Vegas trip, like in the history of Vegas trips.
For sure.
So we get down to Vegas, and we sit down on the floor at the Hard Rock Hotel in Vegas, and he lays out 3x5 note cards in 7 stacks. And I have set goals for sports and set goals for grades, but I've never set goals for business, life. What kind of dad do I want to be? What kind of fun do I want to have? What do I want to do with my faith? I've never done that. So we sat there and looked at this, and he said, okay, where are you in these 7 areas? Where are you? Fitness, your finance, your family, your field, your career, faith, friends, fun. Where are you? Where do you want to go? And how are you going to get there? And 3 days later, I went home, 1997, for the first time, with a plan for my life. And I said, this is what I want for my life. And I just started following that plan.
Yeah, so powerful. I mean, I think I could kind of wrap you guys up in intentional, like be intentional in every single area. Is that right? Pretty much?
Yeah, and you're talking to leaders all the time. You're talking to people in success. At a young age, we've determined that we define success a little differently. We are all about crushing your business and making a bunch of money. If that's your unique goal for your life, if that's your, go do it. do that boldly, but don't do that at the expense of your family. Or don't pause fun until you're 65 and then pursue your passion. There is a way to do both, but you need to live intentionally. You need to every day look at the goals you have for your life in business and in money, but also in these other areas to make sure that you're not so focused on one thing. The perfect analogy is that circus performer who spins plates. And they get all 7 plates spinning, and that's a lot of work to get 7 plates, because we're spinning 7 plates every day with career, with relationship, with business, with fun, with faith walk, with everything. And if you get so laser focused on one that you're not even looking at the other ones, they're going to start to wobble and start crashing and hitting the floor. And only when they crash and hit the floor will you pay attention. But unfortunately, crashing and hit the floor is a divorce or a bankruptcy or a health crisis. And all we're saying is, don't wait for the crash. You know, they can wobble, but when they wobble and your family's holding on by a thread, or your marriage, spin that plate. Like, spin that plate and then go back and build your business. And we have long vision. So it's like, yeah, we've built amazing businesses. We've had great success. We've had great failures too. But the one thing we've learned, not just in our own journey, but as we share Oola across the globe, is that, number one, everyone's goals are unique. What do you want for your life? Not what your parents or society or your counselor or your spouse or your neighbor or society or Pinterest tells you you want for your life. What do you want for your life? And boldly go get that, but don't do that at the expense of other key areas.
Now, did you have a mentor? I mean, you're like the guru, and we'll talk about how you kind of became the seeker and guru here in a second. But before that, I mean, before Vegas, did someone guide you to this?
No, guru is kind of tongue-in-cheek, by the way. Guru is just like, you know, but the reality is at 11th grade, I remember sitting down, you know, not paying attention in class, and writing down, I want to be debt-free and retired by age 40.
Wow.
In 11th grade, when everyone else is doodling, you know, like, and I remember I never lost sight of that. It took me until 42, but I never lost sight of, I saw my dad working 3 jobs, my brother starting the same path, and providing for 4 kids and doing a great job. I just didn't get to see him that much. And I'm like, I want to spend time with my kids. So I had all of these things, but I never lost sight of that. And as we travel cross country on this Oola bus, and we hand people a Sharpie and a sticker collecting handwritten dreams on the side of our vintage surf bus, and we say, what do you want for your life? You would be surprised how many people we hand them that and they don't know. And I think that's what this is about. You say the guru part of it is, I never lost sight of what I wanted. In my marriage, as a father, in my faith. And I think as a society we get so busy and inundated with media and impulses that maybe I want that squirt gun or that book or the thing they're selling on the infomercial, and you've lost sight of the bigger vision and plan for your life.
Yeah, that's powerful and incredible. I mean, you were a little bit weird. 11th grade?
It was very weird.
That is awesome.
Like, things haven't changed.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm jealous. I wish I had had a vision in 11th grade.
Well, you know, on that point though, on that point, there's a saying that the best time to plant an oak tree is 60 years ago.
Right.
Second best time is today. So that's why we're telling people, okay, if you're one of those people that you really don't know the path you're on, or you've lost, or it almost is hard to confront that you don't know what you want for your family or what you really want for your career, now.
That's awesome. I love that. Okay, so you get a hold of these things, you're crushing it, and then you lose it all, basically.
Yeah, totally. And what,
so for those people, congratulations. So for those watching who don't know, tell us why you lost it, and then I want you to give people warning signs. I want you to tell them you're going to crash, dude.
Absolutely. And you know what it was for me? It's so clear.
Coming up, don't miss the Oola Guys' #1 piece of advice for success. But first, I want to remind you that if you love these celebrity interviews, there are 3 ways you can support this show, this free show here on the internet, you guys. First, you can like this video and share it with your hustler and dreamer friends. Second, you can subscribe to the channel. And lastly, you can sign up to join Pursuit Nation. When you do, I will give you my top 10 success hacks for real life. How do we take all the tactics in these interviews with millionaires and celebrities and actually apply them to pursuing our own dream? That's what I break down in this PDF. Get your free copy at thepursuit.tv/top10. I also want to take a second to tell you about something really cool for those of you who are freelancers, if you have a service-based business, or maybe multiple side hustles, and you have a lot of invoices going out and hopefully a lot of that cash money coming in, right? If you're having trouble staying organized with all of that, you've got to check out FreshBooks. You can go right now, and it takes 30 seconds to set up, and you have a professional invoice with your colors and logo. No more recreating clunky Word documents over and over again, you guys. You can use the time tracker tool when you work to immediately bill your hours to a specific client. And later, you don't have to have that awkward conversation when your client forgets to pay, because FreshBooks will automatically send follow-up emails for you. Plus, in the dashboard, you can see quickly what's coming in, what's going out, and what's past due. You can easily sync your business credit card to automatically record and categorize your expenses. And best of all, it saves you hours of frustration and agony during the worst time of the year, tax season, because it tracks all of your tax information for you as you use it. All you freelancers, consultants, and coaches are going to seriously love it, and FreshBooks is offering a free 30-day trial to Pursuit Nation. So go to freshbooks.com/pursuit to start today. Make sure when the pop-up asks how you heard about them, you put in the Pursuit. If you're crushing it with your clients, but not so much with the organization, again, that's freshbooks.com/pursuit. Okay, so you get a hold of these things, you're crushing it, and then you lose it all. Basically.
Yeah, totally. And what,
so for those people, congratulations. So no, for those who watching who don't know, tell us why you lost it, and then I want you to give people warning signs. I want you to tell them you're going to crash, dude.
Absolutely. And you know what it was for me? It's so clear. He moved overseas to pursue another business opportunity. And I would say it was humility, like losing humility and thinking I'm 29 years old, I have a huge house with a racquetball court and cool cars, and I had 5 kids, and I was working out and living my Oola life perfectly. And I really thought that it's all just because I must be so good at things. And I lost sight of how hard I worked to get there. And I also lost sight in the gratitude of having it. And I lost sight in just my real purpose in life is to continue on that journey. I felt like I had it at 29. And I quit doing the process of writing goals down, reading them every day, taking action steps towards those. And I was 29 and I put it on coast.
Yep.
And what happened for me is so if you're crushing it in life and you ever think like, wow, I'm really good, that's a check right there alone. Like, wow, I must be. And I would say on the outside, people probably didn't even see that. But on the inside, I felt like the first one in my family to graduate with a doctor's degree, and the first one to start my own business, and the first one to go crush life financially and drive a cool car. And I just felt it. And I was honestly like a big player in a really small game anyway. So I lost a little bit of the humility in that and the gratitude in that. And that was the slide. That was the start of it. And after about 4 or 5 years of just not paying attention to it and not being intentional with living, I found myself going through divorce, losing everything in 2010 with the crash of the housing market, losing my business, and I found myself literally living in a motel. And that's when I reached back out to Dr. Troy, and at this same time, he's fully retired, living in Arizona in the winter, lake cabin in the summer, place in Thailand, Panama, but married, 20-some years, 4 kids, running Ironman, like doing Oola. So everything we had talked about in our 20s, that we had in our 20s, he continued. That's why he's the guru in the first book.
Right.
He continued on the path, continued setting goals and working for it, taking action, hustling every day. And I took my foot off the gas, thought I was amazing, and just let it slide. So we, same way in our 20s, and we went like this in our 30s. And then at 38, 39, calling out to him saying, I'm losing everything living in a motel. And at that time, he said, reconnect to Oola. Like, I lived in Salt Lake City at the time. He goes, go in the mountains. I know you live in the mountains. And I took my mom's beat up old Taurus because I didn't have any, all the cool cars were gone. Went up in the mountains and I sat there with a black notebook and I said, what do I want for my family? And I'm like, going through divorce. I mean, it's inevitable. It's happening. But what's the best I can do in this situation? What do I want for my finances? I'm going to start calling creditors and just see where all this debt is in my business and in my home. And then I got to field, which is career. And I said, what do I want? And I'm like, okay, just out of habit, without thinking with my heart, I was like, I'm going to start another clinic. I'm going to build it up. I'm good at what I do with patients. I can get this going again. And I remember him back in the day in Vegas. He always said, when you write a dream down, question yourself a little bit to tear it up and dream bigger. And I looked at that and I'm like, this is what I've been doing for 20 years. Do I want to do something different? And I literally teared up and I said, you know what I want to do is I want to share Oola. That's what I want to do. So if I get my life back on track, I want to share Oola with the world. And I wrote down, I still have it on my desk, it says I want to be a visionary leader, educator, entertainer, and facilitator of Oola around the world. And if anyone would have looked in the car at the time and saw that, they're like, we don't want that Oola thing. This guy looks hopeless. Whatever he's trying to sell, don't buy it.
Thanks, but I don't want the Taurus life.
We're good. We don't want that. And we just offended everybody in here with Tauruses.
No, he's the one who said it was a beater Taurus.
Yeah, beater Taurus. Beater Taurus. And I came down and I called out to him and I'm like, dude, I got this. Like I'm gonna get my Oola back. And I said, you know what we're gonna do is we're gonna share this with the world. And he said, dude, cool. He said, but first get out of your mom's crappy car. He goes, get out of the crappy motel and start taking care of your family. And he goes, then we can share this with the world. And by the way, he goes, then you can share this with the world, because I'm retired. I love my life. And whatever I do, I'm not coming out of retirement.
Yeah.
He said. So that was 2012.
You know, an important thing for everyone to hear in that story, and we see this on the bus as well, is we all go through seasons. When I said tongue-in-cheek is the guru, I've had my share of mistakes and missteps. Book 1 focused on all my highlights and all Dave's mistakes. We all have that.
Can't wait for the next book.
I'm never writing that book. It would be on the front counter of every Barnes & Noble, and it would go to #1 instantly. But we all go through guru seasons and seeker seasons. Sometimes our family's amazing. Sometimes we're struggling. Sometimes financially we're killing it. Sometimes we can't even pay the bills. We all have been through that season as we talk to people. But what people need to understand, no matter where you are, if you're at a high point, don't get too cocky. But if you're at a low point, understand where you are is simply where you are. It's not who you are. We believe in Oola that everyone here, everyone watching, everyone listening is designed for greatness and for a specific purpose. The problem is the subtitles of our books are Find Balance in an Unbalanced World. The world we're living in tends to throw debt at us, toxic relationships at us, stress at us, no time for anything, and it clouds that greatness that we feel is within us. So if you're at that point, you have to understand, you have to step outside of it. Just like Dave, he drove up to the mountain and said, okay, I'm in the chaos right now. I can't even see. It's like clinging to hope. If you could dream big, rip it up. Like if you could dream big, yeah, it makes sense. I could do a clinic because I've done it before, but you know what I really want to do? I want to inspire people to be a better version. Awesome. In your family, what do you want that to look like? And encouraging people that, because people live this public life, but there's struggle. Everyone has a battle. And confront that, face that, and move forward.
Let's talk tactics a little bit, okay? Especially for the people watching, because you mentioned you're different, and you are. I feel like a lot of people in success talk about seasons as in you're never gonna have all 7 plates going at once. That's kind of how it's approached. Yeah. So, and that's honestly, I mean, in my own life, it's kind of like, I'm hustling on business right now, so my health, pass the cookies. Like, that's just kind of because I'm working so hard. And I feel like a lot of people watching are like, okay, if I can get 3 out of 7 or 4 out of 7, and really it's like they're feeling the struggle. So what do we do? What do we do?
I love that question, because we have a very clear answer to that question. Is like this example right now. I was retired, formerly retired, like feet up, golfing, traveling, hanging with my kids. I am working harder in this moment that I've had 3 times in my life that I've selectively, by my own choosing, opted my life out of balance. So a season out of balance to gain a lifetime in balance. So that's the key, is you can, 2 things will do that. An opportunity, like the opportunity of sharing Oola, is big now. People want to hear about it. I will selectively take my life out of balance to gain or the season out of balance to gain a whole lifetime in balance. Okay. Crisis can do that too. Yeah. If you have someone going through a health crisis that you love, you should be focused on that for a season. Right. If you are going through bankruptcy and divorce, you need to clean that up for a season. How we define it though, a season is 3 years. Okay. If you're that entrepreneur dreamer who's like always dreaming to this, to this, to this, and you're on year 7 and your family's getting sick of it, it's now a lifestyle. Yeah. If you have someone that you love who you thought it was a short-term health crisis that's turning into a long-term situation, like it or not, that is your lifestyle now. And you can't neglect your health anymore. And you can't neglect the other people in your family anymore. And you can't neglect your business anymore. So even that's such a great concept, because it's not like, what we're advocating is not taking your day and dividing it by 7 and exercising for 3 hours and 25 minutes and hanging out with your spouse for 3 hours and 25 minutes.
Just to clarify, they are not married.
We're just friends. We're just friends. We have 9 children together.
Hanging out with your buddy for 3 hours and 25 minutes.
Much better.
And working on your business for 3 hours and 25 minutes. And it's not that at all. I mean, sometimes, like right now, it's all business. And you work intentionally on that. And that's really what Oola is. And that's really what balance is.
But the key to that, too, is when you're working on that opportunity or crisis, you're working on it, but you don't lose sight of the other 6 areas either. You know they'll be wobbling, and you warn them. Like, we talk to our families very extensively before we go on this tour. And we say, okay, this is going to be hard. We have to work on this together. But it's also going to be off and on an 8-week thing. We have to get through this 8 weeks to do that. But we don't just go on the road, not call our families, not do anything for 8 weeks.
Right.
You know, so you have to, like, we're going to be spinning this business plate, or we're going to be spinning this finance plate, or whatever it is, or you have crisis, we're going to have to spin our fitness, our health plate, but you can't lose sight of the other areas in your life. I think that's really the key. Because I think especially, you know, we're talking to entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs get very focused on your business because it's your passion, it's what you love in life, and you're super focused on it, but you have to understand that you can't lose sight of the other areas, for one, and if you're super focused on one area and you're pursuing that, it can't last longer than 3 years, or other areas are going to suffer.
Yeah, so good. So you mentioned the tour. I want you to talk about turning these concepts you had into not only a best-selling book, but now a movement. This is the next book. And I mean, you're traveling all over the world with the bus and you're collecting dreams. So how did you go from these are our ideas to this is now it's a best-selling book to now a movement? Do you have advice for someone out there who wants to do the same thing?
I'll tell the story, and there's definitely some advice in the story, but it was actually a process for years, from 1997 on. And in 2012-ish, I went to Dr. Troy's cabin. And he said, how's life? And I'm like, it's better. I'm moving up, open some businesses to, but he said, you still want to share? Oh, I said, it's in my heart. I mean, that's what I want to do someday, but I don't know when. He goes, well, why don't you start now and just start to talk about Oola? And I was like thinking a blog, a podcast,
yeah.
Am I going to do it? How am I going to do Oola? And the interesting thing is, he said, I'm going to help you outline it this weekend while we're at the cabin. But that's all I'm going to do for you. I'm not going to do anything else, but I'll help you outline it. And we sat down and we just started outlining the process. So it was a process for years, and that process in 3 days became a book.
Okay.
And the first book, Oola, Find Balance, Unbalanced World. And since then, the book has now become a process for all of these people and people around the world that are now using the simple process of Oola to get their life in Oola. And what's so much of it, it's such a great question. Like if someone has this idea or their business and what they want to do, if you know the why of it, sometimes you don't know the how. Like we would have never sat down 3 years ago in his cabin and started writing on a notebook and saying, okay, someday we're going to drive a bus across the country collecting dreams, and someday we're going to be sitting in a Barnes & Noble in front of a bunch of people getting interviewed. You don't always know how everything's going to happen, but if you have a really strong, like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to share this, or we're going to build this, or we're going to, whatever business you're in, we're going to go crush this. Sometimes you don't know all the hows, but you have to just always be willing to course correct along the way, be really flexible in your planning, in your path, but be super strict on your dreams and your goals and what you want for your life.
I can add to that the left brain part of me, the 11th grader who sets a goal part of me, is that for entrepreneurs especially, speaking to entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs are dreamers. I mean, they're creative dreamers with big visions, which is awesome in this process. But always the left side of my brain says, let opportunity reveal the path. So we just knew that this process helped people. So we self-published our first book, thinking we wrote a list of 47 names we thought we'd sell. Some celebrities got behind it, and it went international bestseller. Anybody who's written a book and self-published, we sold 128,000 hardcovers out of the back of a bus. A successful book sells 5,000 books nowadays. So we didn't realize that was a big deal. And then the original publishers of Chicken Soup for the Soul got wind of that. That's how this turned into a series. Okay. So we would have never went out, like a lot of people go publisher to publisher to publisher to publisher. They got a hold of us, and we got a multi-book deal. So that's an opportunity. We didn't have to push that. I go to the path of least resistance, and then people go, what did you guys used to do in Vegas? We heard about that in the first book, of sitting on the floor with note cards and overcoming blockers that get in the way, like fear and guilt and anger, and embracing love and humility and wisdom. And these 3 steps, we're like, come to Vegas, let's try it. Sold out event 1. People wanted it. And now we do 5 events a year that sell out. So that is, I think, the key. And the bus thing is we want to change the world with a word. If you sat down with a marketing team and a business team, there's no ROI on meeting a person in a park who's homeless, and he writes on a sticker, which happened in Houston 3 days ago, and he said, I want to be off the street in 30 days. And we talked to him about it, and I said, okay, how's that going to look? What are the steps you're going to take? And he goes, I need applications, but they're all online. I said, you said they have a library? Yeah, but I need a library card. I said, that's a great place to start. He said, yeah, I need a library card. So get a library card, go online, fill an application, get off the street in 30 days. There's no ROI on that. You follow your heart a lot of the times, but people who can fly to Vegas and pay $1,500 a ticket, that's great. We love those people, they're leaders. But this message is for everybody. And I believe that if you add value to the world, just throw value into the world. It may not be an ROI today, but there may be a company that comes around. Like we've had companies that partner with us, and that's how we'll monetize it. And the beautiful thing about Oola is one of the goals is to be debt-free. Once you get financial freedom, do what the heck you want. And I will tell you the irony to the entrepreneurs out there, you'll make more money doing it. because you'll be able to, you don't have to work about this deal and show up there. You do what your heart tells you to do, what's right for the world, and the money will come.
Yeah. Okay, so did you come up with the word? You came up with Oola, the word?
We talked about, he's kind of that left brain. So he's like, we're having a goal setting meeting. And I'm like, that sounds so lame. We need to do something better. And he's like, you're crazy. Just think, what does it feel like when your life is balanced and growing? I'm like, dude, it's ooh la la, baby. So it comes from ooh la la.
Okay, cool.
So the word oola comes from ooh la la. That's exactly where it comes from.
Awesome. And you mentioned partnerships. As much as you can share, I don't know how it works, but you guys have a partnership with Young Living Essential Oils, right? So how did that come about? How does that work? I mean, what kind of partnership is it? Because there's other people.
Yeah, that's the opportunity to reveal the path thing.
It's exactly what he was just saying. Is that when we wrote the first book, Oola, Find Balance, Unbalanced World, we were sitting in his cabin and he said, how many books are you going to sell? And I didn't know anything about publishing. And I'm like, I don't know, 100,000, maybe 1 million. And he's like, let's write down the names of people who are going to buy your book. And I'm like, my mom's going to buy 5 because she loves me like a lot.
Mom's in.
Mom's in for sure. And then I have 4 sisters. That's 1 each. So and I added it all up. And he circled a number and turned around and goes, you're selling 47 books. So don't quit your job. You're selling 47 books.
That's so great.
And I'm like, okay, we're selling 47 books. And we put it on Amazon. And we sold 47 books. And then 2 months later, he calls me and he goes, do you know a Sarah from New Jersey? And I'm like, nope. And he goes, call your mom. You have a big family. I bet she's a relative. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I called my mom and I'm like, do you know Sarah from New Jersey? And she's like, no. And I call him back and say, we're not related to Sarah. And he goes, dude, we just sold a book to someone we don't know.
Hey-o! We've arrived.
And then it was like, how do I ship it? And he's like, Google it. I don't know. So I'm Googling how to ship a book from Amazon.
Oh,
and then
that's awesome.
next month I'm shipping hundreds, and then it's thousands, and then it's tens of thousands, and it just took off organically from there. And then from there, one of those books got to a massage therapist. A massage therapist bought it in Minnesota, who gave it to a friend who loved the book and gave it to the owners of Young Living, and they read the book on a road trip, and they loved the message, and they said, our people in our company need this message. And it was simply a phone call from them pursuing us and saying, we really want to work with you. And that led into a great partnership that's lasted 3 years. Right from the beginning, we were 6 months into the project. And it's been a great partnership. And just like he said, you know, Chicken Soup's saying like, hey, let's launch a series of books. And then from that, we've also had a series of Oola corporate training. We had a team approach us that does all the corporate training for big companies like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And they're like, our corporations need this message. The corporate culture needs more work-life balance. So we worked for a year and we actually just launched Oola Corporate Training. And it's the same thing as opportunity revealing the path. It's like we know we're out to change the world with this word Oola. That's our goal. And then as stuff comes along, we can say yes and no to it as we continue to move the message. And he's, you know, meeting people at donut shops and coffee shops and the homeless person in Houston and the guy along the road in Florida that pulled us over in the middle of the road. That's what it's all about. But there's opportunities that come along if you just continue to follow your heart and just hustle, just work your butt off and follow your heart.
The hustle part, I definitely understand. Last couple questions. Tell us about the new book. Now you're 2 dudes. Okay, Janet Switzer as well. I was going to say 2 dudes wrote a book for women. So tell us about the newest book.
It's the exact same thing. It's opportunity just revealed itself, and it wasn't even an opportunity as much as it became an obligation. And how this happened was on social media. We have over 1 million people following this Oola craziness. We didn't even know how to start our own Facebook page. And 3 years ago, and we started a Facebook page and Twitter and Instagram, there's 1 million people following Oola. And we say, what do you want? And it's like, I want an Oola hat. I want Oola t-shirts. We sell those by the thousands. And we kept hearing over and over a book specifically for women. And we said the exact same thing you said. What did 2 dudes, why do they keep asking us this? Well, how are we going to do this? And we joked around on the bus so much, we said, it's going to be a book with a beautiful cover, and you open it up, it's going to be 260 empty pages of everything men know about women.
Exactly.
And that's what it's going to be. And we were driving the bus. It was the bus thing, and the bus makes no sense on ROI. Zero cents.
But it's cool.
And it's cool. And that was Troy's idea. He goes, let's go meet people where they are. The guy that was retired, he said, let's go in a hot, sweaty bus 50 miles an hour, and let's go meet people where they are.
Ever, by the way.
And we launched this in Coronado Island.
With our sons on a father-son trip up to PCH.
San Diego. And this was in our minds because it was on social media so much that women wanted this book. And we're driving up the coast. We're about 3 to 5 hours into our trip, pulled over right north of Santa Barbara, I think. Yep. In a park, and the kids were just kind of getting sick of the hot, sweaty bus. And they went in the ocean to swim, and we sat there. We're just talking about Oola and talking about life. And we noticed this family off in the corner right by the beach. And it's a husband and wife and 2 kids. beautiful family. I think they're like 35, 2 little kids taking pictures with a professional photographer. And we were just kind of observing life, observing the waves, observing nature, just hanging out. And they came up and they said what everybody else says, like, what's this crazy bus thing? And at that time I had like 40 stickers, it looked like a chicken pox, like 40 stickers on it. They're like, what's this crazy bus thing? They're like, hey, we're just going across the country collecting dreams and meeting people and reconnecting them to their purpose in life. And she's like, that is so crazy, can I do that? We're like, sure. I said, fitness, finance, family, field, faith, friends, fun. She goes, I'll take a family one. And she wrote a sticker and slapped it on. They high-fived us and they drove away. Well, the boys came up to the bus and they're like, let's go. And they're like, what do the stickers say? I'm like, let's look at them because we haven't seen them. And her sticker, her orange sticker, family sticker, said, I want to survive stage 4 cancer long enough to see my daughters become women. And we got in the bus and no one talked for about 20 minutes. And this bus was loud with music and movies and boys laughing. And for 20 minutes, there wasn't a word said. And I think that's at that moment we really felt the power in what Oola is a little bit, but also the power in women needing that message. Because here's a woman who happily is taking pictures and doing all this stuff with her family, and she's balancing everything, but her main thing is she wants to be there for her kids. And that's such a, you know, men and women, we all have our differences in life. Women say yes to so much and give so much of themselves, especially when it comes to family and work and relationships. And we see so many times the women that we interview, the 42 women. It's not Janet Switzer, an amazing author, helped us write this book to really reach women with the content of Oola, but it's really about the 42 women. There's stories in this book of the 42 women that we've met, and it's just talking to them and interviewing them and writing their stories. They give so much that they seem to lose themselves in the process by saying yes to everything. They become like this empty shell of, now what do I want for my life? And we just want to reconnect women to that. And I have 4 daughters, he has 2, and we talk about let's raise our daughters in a place where women feel empowered to go live their Oola life. And that's really the purpose and the heart of this book.
I love it. All right, last question. You talked a lot about balance, so I'm not going to ask about that. I want to ask about someone out there who's pursuing their dream to build, you know, kind of an empire around whatever their concept. What's your #1 piece of advice for them?
I would say discipline. In the book, there's 5 sections. The 4th section talks about Oola accelerators. There's 7 things that will get you your Oola life faster. In business, I think it's discipline and consistency. I'm not getting too excited when things are going great and not getting too down when things are a struggle. Like have a laser, if I want to be debt free by the time I'm 40 and you lose your job, don't like, that's not gonna happen. Or if it's debt free by the time I'm 40 and you're making tons of money, it's like, I'm crushing it. I mean, just always, in the book, it lays out a very specific process of taking 2 days once a year to look at your life outside your life, but then every night before you go to bed, look at your top 7 goals and write down at least 3 action steps you're gonna take every day that are consistent with the big 7 every day. So if you did that, like, because crazy is gonna happen, life's gonna happen, but if you every day took 3 steps toward the top 7 goals you have for that year, you're gonna take at least 1,000 steps toward your biggest goals. And that's the key, is to not get distracted with things coming at you, that you lose sight of what you really want in life.
Awesome. Do you have anything to add?
I love the question because, you know, as entrepreneurs are watching this too, everybody has different, what we call blockers or accelerators, different stuff that gets in the way, because it could be fear that's blocking an entrepreneur, or it could be self-sabotage. They don't think they're good enough for this business that's growing faster, they know how to control it. And then we go into the accelerators like gratitude, love, passion, humility. They might be growing a business so fast they're losing humility, or they might be growing in a business they don't even love, so they don't even love the product they're trying to sell. I think the book outlines that so well, of just like, you want your goals, the 3 simple steps to your life. Where are you, where you want to go, and how are you going to get there? And take those 3 action steps. How are you going to get there? Those 3 action steps every day. But you're going to run into blockers, and for every entrepreneur it's different. And you're going to also be able to embrace accelerators like passion, gratitude, humility. And then once you get your plan and you know where your weak spots are, you have to hustle and just work and have fun along the process and enjoy the ride. It goes so fast.
Awesome. Great answers. We will be right back after this with Fast Facts. That was another great interview, and even though they talked a lot about work-life balance, I want to focus in on their particular journey for those of you who want to do the same thing. Take your mission and message, turn it into a word or a phrase, and create an international movement. So here are my top few keys to success for the rest of us when it comes to creating a movement. #1, consider finding a partner. I love that the 2 of them kind of make up both sides of the brain. One of them is analytical and had his life planned out as a teenager, and the other one had a vision and came up with the word Oola itself. So if you're all metrics and no mojo, you may need a big picture thinker next to you. But on the other hand, if you're a creative visionary, you may need a tactical black and white type of entrepreneur to be your partner in order to successfully implement ideas and scale the business. Number 2, create a brand around the mission. This duo wants people to, quote, find balance in an unbalanced world. But that phrase is not very sexy, so they made up their own word. This also happened with phrases like Simon Sinek's Start With Why, or Seth Godin's Purple Cow, or John Acuff's Start. All of which have been on the show, by the way, if you want to go watch their interviews here on this channel. Clearly communicate your mission and vision, but also find a way to encourage people to rally around it using a memorable word or phrase. Number 3, start where you are. Remember what they said, that people need to understand no matter where you are. If you're at a high point, don't get too cocky. If you're at a low point, understand that where you are is simply where you are. It's not who you are. Look around at what you can currently do where you are right now with what you already have, remembering that they started selling their books out of the back of a van thinking 47 people would want to buy from them. Then it grew organically from there. Number 4, realize international movement results require a season of international movement work ethic, you guys. How do you know if it's time to let your life go out of balance for that kind of work ethic? Well, they say that they chose a season out of balance in order to gain a lifetime in balance. So usually you're talking about a giant opportunity or a giant crisis. Remember though that even if you get out of balance for a while, you can't completely focus on only one area of your life. Like they said, it's like spinning plates. If you're only focusing on one plate, the others are going to crash and break. I love that they actually quantified how long a season is, since many of my guests talk about doing something for just a season without saying how long a season is. And their philosophy is that it's a season for 3 years. If you have your life out of balance for longer than that, then that's your new lifestyle. Number 5, follow the path that hard work reveals. The phrase, the harder I worked, the luckier I got, is something many of my guests explain to be true, using that phrase in one way or another. The Oola duo focused on spreading their message, and then instead of knocking on doors, they just walked through the doors that naturally opened. A publisher came to them because their books were selling well. Then people wanted to know more and wanted to meet them in person, so they started to do yearly events that sold out. And their giant corporate training events and partnerships with big brands like Young Living Essential Oils all happened organically as well. So work hard and add value and the doors will open for you, they said. Number 6, be firm on the what and flexible on the how. As you continue to add value and follow the paths that open up, you have to stay flexible. This was something other past guests have said a lot, like Dave Ramsey, for example. Sometimes you don't know all the hows, but you have to be willing to course correct along the way. Be flexible in planning and on the path as long as you have your overall mission set. Number 7, have consistent laser focus. The docs recommended coming back over and over again to these top 3 questions. Where am I? Where do I want to go? And how am I going to get there? Like almost all of my guests, they place a huge emphasis on discipline and consistency. They say you're not getting too excited when things are going great, and you're not getting too down when things are going badly. And every night before bed, they recommend you look at your top 7 goals and then list 3 actions that you're going to take every day, which then adds up, you guys, to 1,000 steps taken each year towards your biggest goals, which almost ensures success.
Now I'd love to know, what was your favorite lesson from this interview? Leave a comment, and if you want to learn the juicy behind the scenes details like what was he like in person, how did I land this interview, see bloopers and more,
go to thepursuit.com/Oola.
We are back with Dr. Troy and Dr. Dave, and we're gonna play Fast Facts. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
Okay,
I'm
chocolate
really
or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Vanilla.
Scrabble or charades?
Scrabble.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Tea.
Oh, there, finally. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Winter or summer?
Summer.
Wine or beer?
Beer.
Beer.
Pancakes or waffles?
Both.
Oh yeah, that's
I feel like you can judge
Donuts.
a person. Guilty pleasure TV show?
Oh, Shark Tank.
Shark
Rocket.
Tank.
Oh, nice. What is the wallpaper on your cell phone?
My goals.
My goals.
Nice. What is the last thing? I love it. What's the last thing you guys Googled? You remember Googling?
Oh, dude.
How to get to Barnes & Noble Inn, wherever we are.
Okay. Most recent book you read?
Our own.
Yeah,
We had to prove it.
You have to
400
prove it a
times.
million
Yeah, we had to
times, I
prove
know. Favorite book of all time?
I love The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, but
That
I
is
like
a
the
common
Total
answer.
Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey.
Okay, yeah, he's awesome.
Crush It by Gary Vaynerchuk.
Also a good one. Who's the last person that called or texted you?
My wife.
My kids.
Who's the last person you called or texted?
My wife.
My daughter.
What's the last awkward situation you were in? I'll answer. Getting here today and none of us knowing what was going on. What's the last vacation you took?
We're Miraval Resort with my wife in Tucson.
That was like just a week ago.
It's awesome. Feels like a,
Nice.
yeah.
You? Last
No,
vacation?
I think I need a vacation. My whole life's kind of like a vacation right now. It's a
Well,
new
that's a
city
good
every
answer
day.
too. Hobby?
I know what yours is. Golfing, dude.
Oh,
Golf
I would say
balls.
financial. I like reading financial
Yeah.
stuff.
He's kind of
That's-
that's that geeky
That's a
side.
nerdy
I know,
hobby.
I love anything in the mountains, hiking the
Mountains,
sun.
cool.
Yeah.
Favorite snack?
Donuts.
God dang, I like so much broccoli. I'm just kidding.
So much for the fast part of this.
These are never fast. It's but no one's ever
So I'm not
fast.
the
Don't
first
worry.
one
No.
failing the fast questions. That's good. I'm getting sweaty. This is harder than like any interview I've ever been.
How about like chips and guacamole or like?
Chips and queso is good.
Yeah, a lot of people answer chips and something. Favorite cereal?
Oh.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
I don't know the name of it. The one I have no
Quaker
idea.
Oat Bran.
No.
You're getting a little older.
Got to get
got
that
high
fiber in. Okay, what about favorite music right now? What's playing in the bus?
Doors.
He's playing the Doors.
Right now it's indoors. Classic.
Yeah.
Biggest pet peeve, like let's say each other's. Like what's your biggest pet peeve that he does and yours?
I know yours. Go ahead. I want to hear this.
I know what you're gonna say about me.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. You tell mine first.
He says no first.
My default
all the
answer is no.
time.
And I have to process it, and then I say
Then
yes.
he processes it, then he owns it. Like, yeah, maybe we should write a book for women. No. Okay, yeah. You know what? I have this great idea. We should write a book for women. And then I just have to say, that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, he understands me really well. That's probably my pet peeve. He gets me because
No matter
that is
what
totally
I say,
me.
no matter what I say, it's like no, and then it's like we should do this. I'm like, that's what I just said.
All right, and one word you guys are guilty of saying too often.
No.
Dude.
No. Dude. I say dude a lot too. All right, and what were you doing right before this?
Driving here.
Driving the
We're
bus
getting ready.
from Dallas.
Yeah.
And what will you be doing right after this?
Driving the bus somewhere else.
That's what a tour is.
Yeah, we're giving 2 talks.
We're giving 2 talks.
This
and
afternoon.
We're flying home tomorrow for a couple days.
Fly.
Yeah, a little break.
Well, thank you so much. This has been so cool. You guys are awesome. We're also going to give away an autographed copy if you share this episode. So go to oolalife.com, right, if they want to learn anything about you guys?
You know what the coolest thing is? Go to oolalife.com and submit your dream because we're out to collect 1 million dreams and we can't do that one person at a time or we'll be like 95 and
Yep.
grumpy old men driving a bus. So what we need is go to oolalife.com, submit your dream. We have a team that handwrites dreams and puts them on the bus for you.
I'm definitely going to go do that right now and put mine on the bus.
Awesome.
Can I put
We're
my
on
dream
it.
on the bus?
If you make it happen,
Awesome.
that's the
Okay.
key.
I'm going to. All right, well, I'm Kelsey Humphreys here with the guys behind Oola, Dr. Troy and Dr. Dave, and this has been The Pursuit.